If you've been listening to me or following me for a while, you will know that I talk about two drugs that I rely heavily on. One is the sun, the other is exercise. One I have to live without some days, and the other I try never to live without because both make me feel normal. So today I'm really going to nerd out a bit because we are zeroing in on one of my favorite topics and one I think we all need in life. It's exercise. But we are going to take it one step further and talk about pain and mobility and movement. So why is this all so important? Well, when we age, our body changes in dramatic ways. And whether you have spent your life sitting on the job, like I have for many years, playing any kind of sports or have suffered an accident or injury, your body will go through adjustments. It will feel pain. Mobility and movement will be challenged. You know, I remember before my mom passed away a year ago, she couldn't lift her arms above her head. And she was active her whole life. And I used to watch her and think, wow, how is that not possible to lift your arms above your head? Is that what happens to us over time with age, through injuries and life? Well, all of those questions are going to be answered today by one of the best. I mean, this woman is an absolute mover and shaker in her field. She was a competitive gymnast for 7 years. She was a track and field star. She was a dancer. She loves everything to do with anatomy and physiology. After graduating with a Bachelor of Science in kinesiology, she became a doctor in physical therapy. Her focus is now creating programs, hosting workshops, and treating clients one-on-one. Her mission, and I love this, is to heal the world, and she says the best way she knows how to do that is by empowering us to learn how to heal ourselves. Add to that, she is downright naturally beautiful. I mean, look at her. I am so excited to welcome Jen Esker to the show, and I'm going to geek out right now and say, wow, it really is DocJenFit from Instagram with a massive following. Welcome. I am so looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you for having me. What an introduction. I feel so honored.
I have so much to talk to you about and to ask you, so I'm going to dive in and begin with a big question. So I said that, and I love this, that your mission is to heal the world and to empower and heal ourselves. Tell me, Jen, why is this so important to you?
Oh my gosh. I think, it's been a series of things through my life that I've seen and experienced that has really brought me back to underneath learning all the science, underneath learning how to fix other people. It really comes down to other people fixing themselves and taking in the work for themselves, because nothing I do is really going to be long lasting, is really going to make an impact in your life unless you decide to make a change, unless you decide to make a choice and it becomes active within your life, active within your lifestyle. And through the years, I've seen, going through PT school, different people who we see born with these limitations, with these disorders, with these things that we put on them as outside limitations, where really they're like, no, this is what I was born with, this is what I have, great. Now I'm going to live on my own. Now I'm going to work out still. Now I'm going to exercise. People who have double amputees, who are winning Paralympics, people who are living in wheelchairs and have contracted joints everywhere, can't use their mouth because of cerebral palsy and motor disorders, and yet living on their own and swimming when they get too big to lift themselves back into their wheelchair. People who cannot spread their legs very far because they have junior rheumatoid arthritis, and yet they're doing yoga and they're running every day. I mean, to have seen those people and know that usually you get someone in the clinic typically and they're like, not typically, but you will get someone in the clinic who's like coming in and they're like, 5 miles after I run, I get knee pain.
And you're like, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a little dose of perspective, right?
Exactly. Like, that's actually, your body's so absolutely amazing, and we put these limitations on ourselves that don't need to be there, and other people put limitations on us as well that don't need to be there, because the human body and what it's actually capable of doing, and the fact that we don't even tap into our full capability, is absolutely incredible. So getting people back into their bodies is my number one mission of what I want to do, because it can create so much healing within when we actually take the time to reconnect.
I love that whole mindset, because what you're essentially, and please stop me if I'm misinterpreting, is challenging people to create a new way to think about their body and create a new reality and redefine what normal should really be.
Yeah.
We're going to dig into that later. Let's go back.
Yes.
Let's take a trip back in time, okay, because that's a big concept. I want you to take me back to where it all began for you in sports, because you were a gymnast. I mean, anyone who follows you, the way that you bend with your body, we know that there had to be some sort of gymnastics background.
Yeah.
Tell us about that and what that experience taught you.
So growing up, my parents required that we were in a sport.
Okay.
And I tried basically everything under the sun, tried soccer, hated it. I was also 5 years old, so hate is like a pretty strong
of course. Didn't latch onto it.
No, didn't.
You want to be picking
softball,
flowers.
dance, all these other things. Until I stumbled upon gymnastics and instantly fell in love. And, you know, through gymnastics, you're taught so much of how to create work ethic for yourself, create honesty, because we'll go through hours of long conditioning and different sets and 10 of this and 5 of that or whatever it may be, and the coach isn't there to count every single rep that you do. They're relying on you to be open and honest about it, that before you move on to a different conditioning set, you've done your 10 that you were supposed to do over here. And what you do see is people who cheat the system and are like, and we saw all the time, you know, friends who would be like, oh, I did my 10, and they really didn't. And all of a sudden they're not getting as strong. Or it would show up later in competition if you didn't really put in the work. So you really learn work ethic, what it means to have integrity.
At a young age. Weren't you 7 when you started?
Yeah, 7, 8 when I started. And then I quit when I was 16. So yeah, you learn all of these things and what it means to overcome fear, what it means to work through different obstacles. There's so much within gymnastics, what it means to really put in the work and have to say no to friends, like all the time. Like, let's just go to a party, let's just go to see that movie on Friday night, and be like, no, I have gymnastics Friday night.
So you threw out that little phrase casually, when I quit when I was 16. What happened there? Pick it up there.
You know, I really came to a point in my life where I felt like I was doing it because my parents really wanted me to get a scholarship, my coaches really wanted me to continue, and I felt like I was doing it for everyone outside rather than just myself. I knew I didn't really want to do it in college. I mean, it is your life. It is consuming everything. When you're not in school, you're working out twice a day. You know, there's so much that it's incredible, and it creates so much awareness within your body and your morals and everything like that, but also it's a lot. And so allowing myself to feel like I'm not doing this for myself anymore, and really seeing that.
That's big. When you said you were 16 and you realized that, and were able to make that decision.
It was hard because obviously I had my mom talking me off, and then she went to my coaches and told my coaches, and so then they're talking me off, and you know, having to make the decision outside of all of that and say, no, it's not fear-based, it's not, I don't think I'm good enough, it's really just, I don't want to be doing this anymore. I still love it, and I coached afterwards. But I really feel good with my decision and where I was at. And as bendy as you see me being on social media and all these other places, it's so funny because I have friends who are not bendy at all, you know, who don't have the same strength, can't do pull-ups anymore. And so it's funny when people put this on me, well, you are a gymnast. I'm like, yeah, 14 years ago. 14 years ago, so I was a gymnast. Yeah. So it's been continuing to come back to the work, continuing to do this within my body, and make it a choice that I'm going to maintain my flexibility, my mobility, and my strength.
Mm-hmm. So from gymnastics, you went into track and field. Was that a love, or was that just continuing for your love of sport?
That was continuing my parents' requirement of I had to be in a sport.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and honestly, it was that as a gymnast, you have a lot of cheerleaders coming into the gym and doing workouts and doing all these things, and unfortunately, we made fun of them a lot. I hate to say that, but they just didn't have the form, at least those particular teams. And I got this really distorted view of what cheerleading was, so I was like, I can't be a cheerleader. And so I did track and field then.
And saw success there as well, right?
Not as much.
Did you love it, or you just enjoyed being involved in some sort of sport because your mom and dad were saying?
It was fun. It was definitely not the same mentality as gymnastics. 100% was not the like. It was like, oh, I did pole vaulting because they were like, oh, you know how to go upside down, and then but we didn't really have a pole vaulting coach, so I really learned nothing. And then I did triple jump because I like to leap, and so anytime the triple jumpers were running, I went over to pole vault. Anytime pole vault was running, I went over to triple jump. So it was great for like working the system.
You're not convincing me one bit. All right, let's move ahead. Let's move ahead into your college years. That's when you got into you furthered your passion for exercise and physiotherapy and kinesiology and all that. When did you realize that that was a true passion, that you needed to move into that area?
Well, obviously, I still liked working out, and I still liked moving my body and exploring what it could do. And I was teaching gymnastics at the time when I went into college, and this woman came into the gym and she started teaching a Pilates boot camp. And I latched onto Pilates hard because it was like, oh, you move your own body weight and do these little controlled movements. That's what we did in gymnastics. So it was like, it came so easy to me, and she would allow any of the coaches to come for free. And so I hopped on that bandwagon hard. And I was the only coach that came for free. And I was sometimes her only person that she had because she was still building up this boot camp, and it was a new space, it was a new location. And so I learned everything from her. And when I thought I was strong, she pointed out these little muscles that I had no idea even existed. And it just continued to expand my mindset of like anatomy and the body and things that I thought I was good at. She would point out these little intrinsic muscles that I had no idea about and make the movement that much harder, 10 times harder. You know, and so it became an obsession to continue to learn of like, oh my God, what do I not know about the body?
Well, that's a good way to frame it.
Yeah.
So you didn't know, and you had a desire and a craving to learn it all.
Yeah, and then even coaching gymnastics, okay, I'm taping an ankle, but why am I taping an ankle? And then I started to teach Pilates, and I'd modify movement around injury, but I'm like, ugh. But what can I actually be doing for their knee? And what can I actually be helping with? Like, yes, I can modify movement all I want around these different injuries, these different things, and people would feel better. But I'm not actually helping. So in that sense, like, I went into kinesiology because I loved anatomy in high school, and I loved human movement. So I thought, okay, that sounds perfect. But it really continued to expand when I realized I love understanding more about human movement. So physical therapy seems to be the route to be able to go do that. And I started interning at a physical therapy clinic, and I stayed there for like 3.5 years before I got into PT school, and I've never been happier with my decision.
So tell us essentially what you're doing now. Is it at the core of your teaching is empowering people to heal themselves? Instead of putting the Band-Aid on it, taping the ankle, you're getting to the deeper layers of why that injury exists and wanting to help people rewire their minds. Is that it? Am I framing that correctly?
Oh my God, totally. But that didn't come right away, obviously. I mean, in physical therapy school, you're taught how to look for red flags everywhere, so which is great because you know when to refer back to an MD when something is out of your scope of practice, and when something is a little dangerous, or you learn how to diagnose specifics to really get down to what is the symptom. But you don't always learn the cause. And as much as they try to teach you what is actually happening, they really teach you, okay, the shoulder injury, we can diagnose an impingement, a rotator cuff, whatever it may be, but they teach you how to treat that and just focus on the shoulder and how you can move and manipulate the shoulder in all these different ways. But for me, that's one body part. And it really started to, once I took a look at the whole person and once I started to learn more and actually have a full assessment in a different way that actually looked at the entire body, a full manual technique that actually utilized the entire body, is when I started to really pick up that it all works together. The shoulder could be hurting because of some malalignments happening all the way down to the foot. So until we get down to that problem, the shoulder is probably going to continue to aggravate. So it really, it has been a constant journey through after physical therapy school, continuing to learn, having an open mindset to learning from everyone and anyone, and really finding mentors that I respected and I loved, and continuing to see how I could provide value for them.
Right.
And in turn, they provided tons and tons and continue to provide value for me.
I hear that so often in the people that I interview, that mentors and coaches have to be a constant in the entrepreneurial journey or in your own personal development, and they're both different. So it's interesting that you picked up on that as well. I want to just dig into injuries, because I know people listening are like, what does she see the most of? What is there a most common or a recurring injury that you seem to be treating more and more of as of late, and why do you think that is? It
kind of goes across the board, but a lot of what I see now that I'm treating on my own and I'm out of the clinic is a lot of low back pain or any kind of chronic pain. That could be neck, that could be shoulder, that could be foot, that could be knee, but it's been chronically there. And I don't think we realize how good our tissues are at healing itself. They're really good at healing themselves within 3 to 6 months. The tissues will naturally heal without even having to come see me. So then why is it still there?
So what is the answer to that, Jen? Tell us.
And that's where it goes back to a whole human perspective. We are not just treating tissues. We are treating a human. We're treating a whole person. And the thing that you learn through physical therapy school is how to get people to get back to their symptom. No, don't tell me the story. Don't tell me what happened. Don't tell me what's going on in your life. I don't need to hear that. I don't care to hear that. Just tell me where the pain is, what the symptom is, and let's focus on that issue. And they teach you really how to hone in to make the eval even faster and to make the treatment even faster, because in most clinics, it is constant turnover.
Right.
The first clinic that I was ever going to work at, they were like, yeah, you'll see 4 to 5 patients an hour.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. And it was actually a great location. It was in Huntington Beach. I was going to see a lot of surfers. I was going to be involved with the Open. I was going to be involved with so many cool experiences and a lot of athletic people. But I passed on it because I was like, okay, I'm a new grad. Yes, I can do this, and I want more mentoring. So I actually went to a clinic in Santa Monica. I decided where they see 2 clients an hour and 1 client for an evaluation for an hour. And so I was like, okay, this is more my speed. I was promised that I would get some mentoring. So, it's unfortunate that physical therapists still feel like I need to come out and teach me more, after you've just done years of learning and physical therapy and you've passed the boards and everything, and you still feel like I don't know enough. But unfortunately, that seems to be common practice, and it's just building confidence as well.
I love that you pointed that out, because I think there's a lot of people that come out of school and you're so filled with theoretical knowledge.
Yes.
You need time, and you can't be putting that amount of people through in an hour. I'm not a doctor, but I can't even imagine the pressure you must be under to evaluate someone and figure it out and do a diagnosis and then what they need. That's a lot. So I think there's takeaways for many people in the learning process, that when you start something new, you can't expect everything all at once, and it's better to go slow and learn than to jump into the fire and get burned along the way.
Yeah, which is okay if you do, and believe me, these clinics are all over and they work very well. And people will see results because mostly you're in this container of a huge amount of clients coming through, so they start building relationships with the different therapists, they start building relationships with different patients, there's connection, there's family, there's this idea of we're all healing together, so it feels safe, it feels good, you learn with the aides and you start building those relationships. So I think, honestly, it's more about the connection and the community and the environment that is making people feel better, rather than the actual treatment.
Right. And that's valuable, even pointing that out, to be aware of it. I want to go back to, because I watched your Instagram video on the low back pain, and I want to incorporate into that the school of thought that people say that sitting is the new smoking. So is this all tied together? Is this at the root of back pain, the lower back pain? Because I was watching, and if you haven't seen this video, you have to go check it out on Jen's Instagram. It's DocJen on Instagram. And you also did a blog on it, did you not? And broke it all down, and that was brilliant. I loved it. But so many of us are experiencing this, and is it because we're sitting?
A lot of it is static positions. I don't want to say it's one cause, because it's never one cause. There's always certain things, but my underlying mission is what is at our foundation. And so that comes down to how efficiently and effectively are we breathing, and how efficiently and effectively are we moving at our baseline, which is our basic mobility. And obviously in modern culture that gets disrupted, because we go from sitting cross-legged in school on the floor to now sitting in chairs and desks and cars and couches and all of these other experiences. So of course it's going to be disrupted. Of course our mobility is going to become an issue, and that's okay to accept. And it's also a good thing to notice, like, okay, where do I get to move into then? And it's the fact of moving better, moving more consistently, moving more often, that is really the key, rather than trying to make a static position better.
And that is what I was going to ask you, because you painted a very realistic picture of what many of us go through in our lifetimes or in a day. So your advice to those people listening going, but like, what can I do in a day if I'm at a desk job all day, or I'm on an airplane and I'm traveling all the time? Your expert advice in that area, what do we need to do?
Start moving more often, and maybe that's putting an alarm on your phone, on your Apple Watch, on your computer that pops up and disrupts like your work space for that moment, where it's honestly every hour.
Do we literally we have to go that strong, right, to put that alarm on just to say, it's like a butt kicker, right? Like,
exactly.
Going, girl.
Or else, I get it, like I've been there too, where I can work for like hours straight and I'm like, oh my god, I haven't gotten up yet. You know, and it's a very real thing. And even if it's just for that moment, take a sit up, use your chair, kind of mobilize your spine, twist around, maybe you move your neck around, maybe you even stand up. You know, maybe it's something where you're like, oh, let me refresh my coffee, maybe we shouldn't say that. 1 cup a day. But maybe you're going to go get some more water, or maybe you get something from the printer, whatever it may be. Find something where you have to get up throughout the day. And I get that it's hard if you're having to dress nice, especially as a woman. Do you have to wear heels? Do you have to wear these tight skirts? And I would say, as often as you can, mix up your wardrobe as well. So if you could wear flats that are a little bit more open and not so pointed. If you could wear...
Because that does what?
That squishes your toes.
And does?
Creates bunions, creates plantar fasciitis, creates immobility of your big toe, which can create knee pain, ankle restriction, hip pain, back pain, shoulder pain. We can keep going up the
This
chain.
was good to know. I didn't know that was all related. I lived in heels my whole life.
All related. And especially the pointed toe. Even when I wear socks sometimes, which are regular socks, my toes feel restricted and I can't wait to get out of them and just like be able to spread and open. It's the same thing as can I say, a woman taking off her bra and feeling like, oh,
absolutely. Let the sisters breathe a bit.
Right, exactly. At the end of the day, you're like, oh, thank God my bra is off. I mean, but it's the same thing. We take off our heels, but imagine our toes being squished in those for hours on end, and all throughout the day. So I mean, I would say, even if you can, sneak off your heels while you're at work underneath your desk and open your toes and practice spreading and practice moving them, because the same way that our hand and our fingers do this, it's the same intrinsic muscles that we have in the foot. And if they can't also spread and move and manipulate individually, yeah, it can cause some problems.
My mind is blown. Like, I knew there had to be some relationship, but I just didn't know it is that strong. You're on an airplane. I mean,
yes.
Your advice there.
Yes. If you can, get up and move. And if you can't, I mean, even if you're, again, just moving in your chair as much as you can, even if that's moving the back, like forward and back, twisting when you can. I would use some neck support. I would use some back support. Make yourself as comfortable as possible. I get that it's hard. And some people can't move their legs. Like, I can move my leg up and I can stretch forward. I can do different things because I'm smaller. And if you can't, that's okay. If you can, disrupt the people in your aisle and get up for a 4 to 5 hour flight even. It's okay. They might look at you like,
it is okay
with disdain, like,
right,
for a second, but that's on them. That's their own stuff that's coming up and they don't want to move. But hey, you're making them get up and move, so that's even better. Win-win.
Double win. I love it. Okay, while we're talking about mobility, because you did your blogs, I love your blogs, they're so insightful. Tell us about some of the myths surrounding mobility. Can you address some of those? This is such great takeaways for everybody.
Yeah, because I think, especially as social media has continued to grow in the movement space and in the movement world, we've been now, like, we have all this poor information being thrown at us. And one of the big ones I've heard is, like, you can break up your fascia, you foam roll, and you do lacrosse, and you do massage, and all these other things, because we're going to break up our scar tissue, we're going to break up our fascia. When really, I mean, fascia is so fascinating, and it is in everything. It makes up our whole entire body to connect everything. It goes down to our organs. It goes down to
fascia. DocJen is what the muscles. Explain it just quickly.
Yeah, so it's just connective tissue. Okay. But there's so many different, like, layers of connective tissue. There's layers between connective tissue. There's I mean, if you eat steak and you kind of peel apart the steak, there's that white fascia that's connecting the steak. And if you don't eat steak, maybe you've seen it being cut before.
So our body's filled with fascia.
Our body is filled. It's overlying every tissue. I mean, we have this superficial fascia where we can move the top layer of our skin, and then we have it in between all the muscle, and then the muscle fiber, and then the muscle between that, and like it interlays everything. So to say that we break that up is crazy.
Okay.
Not
Myth
true.
Dispelled.
Yeah, it's also super, super dense, and our body is so resilient. So it can slide, it can glide, and it does help with mobility, but it is not, and it's interconnected with our nerves and our nervous system. So the main thing that we do when we're getting a massage and we're rolling on a foam roller is we're telling our nervous system to calm down. And that it doesn't have to be in this heightened state, and it doesn't have to be so tight and constricted.
One other myth. Think about one that you just want to dispel and go, no, not the case.
Gosh, there's so many. One that I think I would like to dispel is that alignment has to be perfect. I mean, look at us right now.
I know.
We're like bent over, and we're like, but are you in pain?
No. But I would prefer more comfortable chair.
Yeah. You could, I mean, hey, put yourself in a comfortable position. That's not a bad thing. But I'm here talking to you about body position, and I'm not like this.
Yes.
Now, I'm not like this because this also turns on my back really hard, and it turns on everything, and it actually puts my rib cage in this shortened, tight position where I'm not able to actually breathe as well, and then I'll end up breathing up into my chest, and everything else goes wrong. So I don't hammer in this perfect alignment and pulling the shoulders down and back and turning on all these muscles, because I feel like movement more frequently through all your ranges of motion all throughout the day is better for you than holding a static position and forcing our bodies into a position that it is not used to or comfortable being in. That's only going to increase that tightness that we have. That's only going to increase the tone. That's only going to increase this mindset of protection and like guarding, instead of allowing your body to be fluid and find its own balance.
Thank you for saying that, because as we're talking, I'm like, I better straighten up my posture here. I'm all concocted over. Like, what is she thinking? Exactly. What do we need to do more of?
Get down on the floor.
Why? I did not expect that.
Because just like we talked about in the beginning of sitting in chairs all day long, our hips bend more than 90 degrees. Our knees bend more than 90 degrees. Our ankles bend more than we give them the ability for. But we're not getting into those positions unless you do yoga and Pilates on a regular, or maybe you go to your training and your warm-up might have a little bit to do on the floor. I don't think we're getting on it as often as we should be.
Okay.
So I do legs sitting on the floor a lot. I do offload laundry sitting on the floor. If you have kids, sit on the floor with them.
Okay.
Change diapers on the floor. There's so much that we can be doing to get back on the floor, but know that it is literally the key to longevity, being able to get down and get back up without using your hands, without using help, without using all these other things. Not only is it improving our mobility around our lower body, but even up to our back, but it is also increasing strength, because then we have to get down and get up. And they've actually done a study where people in other countries that get down like 3 times a day to pray, all the way down on the floor, all the way back up, actually have less chance of osteoarthritis within their hips.
Oh, this is huge. So that was going to be my next question, though, is the same applies to men and women, because our bodies are different?
Our bodies are very different, but 100% same applies. I mean, I was just in Bali earlier this year.
Love Bali.
I know, so beautiful. But the men are sitting in a perfect squat, no problem, for hours.
Yeah.
So it is possible, and it is going to be hard because our culture doesn't do that.
That's right. Yeah.
At least in America, but it is possible to get back to it, and your body is capable and able if you allow it to.
Just takes time, right?
It takes time and consistency.
Practice consistency. Okay. I could sit here and ask you like a million questions about exercise and working out and muscles, but I want to switch the subject if I can to love.
I love.
Let's talk about your life outside of work, because you have this boyfriend by the name of Lewis Howes of the School of Greatness.
Some people might know that name.
A few millions, perhaps. Tell us why you and Lewis work together.
No idea. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's the best answer. He's going to enjoy that, and that you're going to probably have to do burpees or something for saying something like that. Or maybe that's not. Maybe it's a payoff in a different way. There's no judge. There's no judging. Back to the question, Jen.
Oh my God. I think through our relationship we've learned a lot, and we've both grown a lot because we've come from very different backgrounds, even in terms of family, which was actually really difficult for us in the beginning, because I come from the mindset of my cousins were my best friends. I went on full family vacations with my aunts and uncles, like my whole family. And it was anything. I had, I think, 11. There was 11 grandkids on my dad's side of the family, and so anyone's birthday we got together, any big game we got together, any holiday we got together, small or large. I mean, so I saw my family almost on a weekly basis. My whole extended family, like not just my immediate, but like my extended family.
Family is big in your life.
So huge. Where he moved away from his family when he was 13 and went to a private school, and it's just he's had and his family's kind of dispersed along the country, where my family's all in California, So we had that difficulty where I didn't understand, like, what do you mean you don't want to come over? Like, this is just what we do. This is life.
Right.
That's not life for you. and vice versa, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's been a huge learning opportunity for both of us in terms of love, relationship, acceptance, compromise, and really being able to see someone for who they are and not hold expectations for what you want.
Oh my gosh, I love how you just framed that you said it's a huge learning opportunity instead of calling it a challenge.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity.
Everything's an opportunity to learn.
So let me ask you this, both of you live under very, very huge spotlights, very public lives.
Yeah.
And you both have your own individual businesses and very active on social media. How does all that work together?
I think it's honestly easier. I think it would be hard for someone who has no idea why I need a post, why I, need to take these photos or whatever it may be and answer all my DMs beyond my, I think it would be hard for someone to understand where him and I, we get it. And we do make time for each other to both be disconnected from the phone, to really be intentional with our connections on a daily basis and be able to put those phones aside and be able to really truly connect with each other. And we both understand how big of a deal that is for each other to be able to do that. And so I think I would say it's so much easier and it's so much better. And it was definitely still like a learning thing. I started dating him when I was in grad school, and though I had a social media growing, it was not a business. So it was still a learning process for me to understand for him, like, well, why are you on it all the time? And why do you have to do all this? And so I started to learn because, mine started to grow into a business and all this other stuff. And again, just another learning opportunity as we both continue to grow. But it's been a beautiful thing. And I think we are so supportive in what we're each doing and what we're each up to, and I couldn't ask for a better partner in that aspect. He supports me in anything that I want to do, and I've also, and it's also very separate in business. Like, people think like, oh, you have Lewis, so that's awesome opportunity as you grow. And I'm like, yes, it is, because I can bounce ideas off of him or be able to talk about different things. But also, he has his own whole business that he's running. And he has people who help him fully on the back end to do everything. So he's not helping me on back end. He's not helping me on the nitty gritty and on the growth aspect. He's helping me as my person that I can come to and ask questions to and be supportive in that way. But he's not my back end person. And so understanding that we are both in different businesses and we have a relationship of love that we're cultivating, and play and fun and learning.
So, if I may, is it a dream of yours to perhaps get married one day and have children?
Yes, I do want that.
So kids are definitely in the cards?
Yes.
Okay. I had to ask about that because you never know with some people what path they want to go down. I want to also ask with you, what makes you happy?
Handstands. No, I'm just kidding.
That doesn't surprise me because I see them everywhere. And if I could do a handstand then I would do a lot of them
honestly,
too.
It's meditative for me. I will pop up anywhere at any time because just being able to go upside down is meditative for me. Like, it's crazy, but it truly makes me happy. But what makes me really happy is, there's so many different areas and so many different things. Movement makes me happy. So again, like handstands, but any kind of movement. I just need to move my body. Even just getting out and walking in nature, whatever it may be, like, that makes me happy. Seeing other people happy makes me really happy. So being able to celebrate in my friends' wins and my friends' successes and what they're up to and what they're doing and how I can support in any way makes me really happy. And also, like, continuing to grow and learn and connect, be around family. All these things. I have 5 nieces and nephews, and I absolutely adore them. So there's so many different things that make me happy. And then seeing other people move into their bodies and get out of pain and move amazing, that makes me so happy.
I want to end with this because I want you to frame this for all the people who are trying to learn and grow, whether personally or professionally, is how much time do you invest in you and why do you do it? At the end of the day, what's the purpose behind all of that?
Oh man. Well, I would say, for anyone and everyone to start to learn about their behaviors and start to learn how they can be a better daughter or son or spouse or friend, just being able to learn about and increase your awareness about who you are and how you act and how you show up for other people around you, and just your energy for what you bring to yourself, and understanding that how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself affects everyone else around you, is so highly, highly important. So I would say for anyone diving into something that will help you to increase your awareness about your personal growth and about your personal development is key. And that has been the number one thing that's helped me in every area of life, and especially as an entrepreneur. I never anticipated being an entrepreneur. I mean, it was not something that I went into school thinking I was going to do. No, not at all. I was like, business, that's over my head.
I can relate.
So it's just, it's crazy to be sitting here talking about all of this. And the number one thing that's helped me in growing is doing personal development work, learning about myself, and really appreciating everything of who I am so that I can appreciate everything in others.
Are you living your dream?
100%.
Oh, I love that answer. I love it. And on that answer, we will wrap this up. And I want to wrap this up by saying this. Like, what initially drew me to you was, like I said, I'm a fan of exercise, and I believe in it and the gifts it's given me over time. I knew you were a doctor in physiotherapy, but I learned so much else from sitting here and having this conversation with you. You have a beautiful spirit. You have a beautiful presence. And I love what you said, that to learn how to empower other people, because you held space for me for this podcast. I didn't know you, and I reached out through a friend, and you opened your arms wide to me, and you said, yes, of course, I'm going to be there for you. So for that, I learned a lot of lessons from you today, and for that, I'm very grateful. So thank you for holding space for me and for all those around you, and for everything that you share on social media. You are really having an impact on so many lives around you.
Aww.
So I will end
so
with my gratitude to you, and I wish you all the best as you follow your dream.
Thank you. That means so much to me.